A little over a year ago, Kevin Abstract, the de facto leader of the all-American boy band Brockhampton, tweeted out the following: "My favorite artist in the world right now is the guy Christian Alexander. His album has been inspiring me like crazy. I can't wait to get back in the studio. Thank you, Christian." This was in reference to the bubbling English artist Christian Alexander and his November 2019 bedroom pop album, Summer 19. In later tweets, he said he wanted to meet Alexander and said many of Summer 19's tracks were, quote, perfect. A cosign from Abstract is pretty major right now because he essentially stands as one of the faces of the current DIY and alternative hip-hop movement. Abstract would get his wish when Alexander flew out to Los Angeles in the summer of 2020 to be a part of their technical difficulty sessions, with him spitting a verse on the track Twisted. Brockhampton rarely features other artists in their work, so it was clear they saw something special in Alexander. With that, I want to dig into exactly what they saw in a relatively unknown singer-songwriter making music from his parents' garage. Christian Alexander, who is now 23, was born in the English city of Preston, but grew up and still resides in the nearby Garstang. On his early influences, the music that Alexander surrounded himself with as a teenager interests me most because he has shared how he was heavily into hip-hop after being exposed to Tyler the Creator's 2011 track Yonkers. He says rappers such as Schoolboy Q and Earl Sweatshirt were in heavy rotation for him, with the influence of the latter being ever apparent in his lo-fi sound. Building onto this stack of Odd Future members, he has often cited Frank Ocean as his biggest inspiration, with him saying that Ocean's 2016 masterpiece Blonde, quote, changed the way I think about music and how an artist can express themselves. As we transition into our examination of his first project, Summer 17, it can be seen that Blonde is ever present in Alexander's sound. Even though Alexander had been songwriting since childhood, he ultimately sought out higher education at Preston's College instead of a music career, but he would drop out after a single semester after he realized he was more passionate about his music. In order to self-start a career, he briefly attended a music production course in Manchester in order to learn what tools he would need to build a makeshift home studio. After leaving the course, Alexander would return home to embark on his music career from his makeshift studio in his parents' garage. He would make his debut in the form of a collection of 10 songs he titled Summer 17, released independently in April 2019 under his own imprint, Dirty Polo. The project is probably the most emotionally potent reflection on youthful heartbreak and moving on from high school that I have ever heard. It seems to be a retrospective piece on what Alexander's headspace was like during the summer following high school. The entirety of the project was written, recorded, produced, mixed, and mastered by Alexander himself from his Garstang garage, and this DIY spirit makes the project really special. Building onto this lo-fi and DIY nature, Alexander's vocals embody these descriptors, and this comes from Alexander turning his microphone 180 degrees while recording the project due to his dislike for his own voice. Looking at the influences we covered earlier, the ambience and the atmosphere this album lives in is clearly Blonde inspired. Specifically, the vocal layering seen on tracks such as Going Through heavily reminded me of the technique seen on Blonde's closer, Future of Free. Ultimately, Summer 17 cemented Alexander as the bedroom pop artist he is known as today, and is an impressive debut. Following Summer 17, Christian Alexander would reflect on yet another summer on his project Summer 19 that was released in November 2019. Even though it was self-recorded and independently released in the same vein as Summer 17, Alexander has labeled it as his debut album, and I believe this label fits because the progression that Alexander saw across just one summer is astonishing. The work also received a more traditional rollout, with it being supported by 2 singles, Lemonade and Someday Sometime, and that progression that I was talking about earlier is evident here. Both singles still embody the same bedroom pop spirit of Summer 17, but the instrumentation sounds so much more crisp, and Christian Alexander comes across as a much more confident vocalist. This polished nature and confidence is what I would brand the entirety of the project as, because at first listen, Summer 19 feels like an upgraded version of his predecessor. Instead of exclusively quaint and stripped back tracks, Alexander comes across as bold through his incorporation of trap production, rap verses, and overall grand instrumentation. The variety across the track listing is insane, with there being tracks like Peter Parker, a hip-hop track that goes as far as incorporating Playboi Carti as trilling and ad-libbing, while also Blonde-inspired pop records at the back end of the track listing such as This'll Be Okay and Still Love You. Ultimately, I love this album, and the progression Alexander showed on it is a remarkable feat. After the release of Summer 19, Christian Alexander would stay hard at work as he would release another project in April of 2020, his Growing Up EP. With it running at 4 tracks in just 7 minutes, with the final track being a 20-second spoken word interlude, it is definitely short. The length does not take away from its quality though, as the tape's 3 songs Eye Socket, Growing Up, and Sucker Punch are really good. Sonically, all 3 tracks are backed by minimalistic instrumentation and or stripped back guitar, with Alexander's vocals on top of them feeling lo-fi in the way they did on Summer 17. Although I would have loved for him to further develop his sound seen on Summer 19, I still really enjoyed the work. To continue on with Christian's career, we come back to the top of our video, as Christian Alexander would collaborate with Brockhampton during their technical difficulty sessions, by which they unofficially released a wide variety of rough cuts. Alexander would collaborate with Brockhampton members Kevin Abstract, Jabari Manoir, and Bareface alongside featured vocalist Ryan Beatty on the song Twisted as mentioned. The technical difficulties era this summer was met with widespread celebration by the Brockhampton fanbase, but Twisted was met with highly mixed reception, specifically because of Alexander's verse. Many fans hated his non-hip-hop sound being present on Twisted and his line talking about his dick size, with them going as far as to make edits without Christian Alexander. Even if the verse is not not that good to you, it is not that bad. Since then, Alexander has continued to work with Brockhampton quite heavily, although he has yet to release any more music with them. While these are simply rumors, it is suspected that he has been signed to Brockhampton members Kevin Abstract and Ramil Hamnani's newly founded label Video Store, as he's one of few artists to be repeatedly featured on their cryptic Instagram page. Even if he's not on the label, Christian Alexander's now public association with Brockhampton is going to bring him a lot of new eyes and will point him to a bright future. I truly love everything he has been doing in the past 2 years, and with artists such as Rex Orange County and Omar Apollo going fully pop in their last few records, Christian Alexander stands as the pinnacle of bedroom pop for me right now. I'm looking forward to the next project by Christian Alexander and wish him a bright future.